Welcome to Things My Mother Forgot to Mention.
The podcast where we say everything our mothers didn't.
I'm Jan, a trauma therapist and author turned rogue storyteller, here to talk openly about the body, aging, and all the, wait, what? Moments of womanhood.
And I'm Patti, an online business and tech nerd whose purpose is to elevate the voices of women in our world and who doesn't believe in taboo topics. Things My Mother Forgot to Mention is the podcast for every woman who's ever said, wait, why didn't anyone mention this to me?
Join Jan and Patti, two outspoken, curious, outrageous women, as they dive headfirst into a messy, magical, and often WTF realities of aging, health, and quite simply being a woman.
From rogue chin hairs and vaginal thinning
to mental health, perimenopause, and scalp cancer. Yes, really.
Nothing is off limits. It's funny, it's raw, it's real talk your mother definitely skipped.
Let's get into it.
Hi, Jan.
Hey there, Patti. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, actually. It's a sunny, nice day out, and spring is actually happening, and there's hope in the air. So
there we
that
go.
Always brightens my spirit.
That's good. Yeah, it's pretty out. It's nice. I mean, it's warm here, but we're getting it back into, like, it felt summery for a second, and now we're in the 70s, 80s. So now it's Texas spring.
We're not there yet, but
yeah, well, but that's spring here. So.
So today we're going to be talking about some of our horror stories. Is that right?
That's right, of teeth.
Okay.
So we're going to start changing our structure a little bit. We were just chatting, right, and I think we can talk about it here. The structure bit of the podcast, instead of having two episodes on one topic, we might have some overlapping ideas of episodes of topics, but we're going to change them a little bit. So today we're going to talk about our horror stories of teeth.
Well, I have horror stories, things from when I was a child too. Now I'm a little bit older than you are.
Yeah.
A little. And and also things my mother forgot to mention about when we go to the dentist. Our dentist would torture us. So we have to talk about our horror stories, and then I guess we have a guest who we'll be interviewing, and he's a real dentist.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And he'll be giving us some of the preventative and maintenance information, which would be helpful. So
after you get to hear these horror stories, then in the next episode, you get to learn how to avoid these horror stories.
Yes.
Ideally.
Yes, ideally. But the first thing I have to just say, when I was a kid, we had this dentist he was a smoker. And this is what I remember when I was a kid. He was a big smoker. And whenever he'd put his hands in your mouth, it smelled like cigarette butts.
Yeah, that's gross. And I smoked for 15 years, and I can say that's gross.
Anyway. And the other thing that he did when I was a kid, and my mom never mentioned this, and we tried to tell my mother this, is he never used Novocaine. So when he would fill all of our fillings, it was without Novocaine, and I really felt that was trauma. I was traumatized by that.
Oh my God.
Ever since then, when I get into the dentist chair, I can tell my whole body starts to brace and tighten up, and like, oh my God, here it comes again. It kind of set a precedent for me for the rest of my life because of that dentist.
Well, that's trauma.
Yeah, it was. And and especially the other thing that really comes to mind for me is that when it comes to horror stories about dental work, it's so close, it's so intimate. It's in your mouth, it's in your face, it's in your brain. It's like it's so intimate, and it's so I don't know, destructive and I don't know, dentists that they really get how tough it is for people.
Yeah.
And for people who've had trauma, they have anxiety disorders.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but something that I feel with it, because I'll get a bit of anxiety around it. And for me, one of my anxiety triggers is feeling trapped. And
Oh yeah.
so in the dentist chair, I feel trapped because I'm like,
Yes.
I have stuff in my mouth and like I can't just get up and leave because I have contraptions or, like you're kind of stuck there. And so that's the part. Like I worry less even after my trauma that we'll get to with pain. I worry more about feeling like I'm stuck and I
Trapped.
get I get anticipatory anxiety. So
Mhm.
I get anxious that I'm gonna have a panic attack and then I'm not gonna be able to leave.
Right. No, it's true.
Uh,
I mean, I'm claustrophobic and I
right.
don't like it when people are in my face. And, sometimes they used to use, and this hasn't been done lately, a dam. Have you ever heard of the,
Oh
the
yeah.
term dam? And they put it across in your whole mouth and everything, and even your airway is starting to be blocked, and you're thinking, OMG, am I going to make it through this?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know where this came from, but I have a weird thing about my throat. Like I don't like when people touch my throat.
Yeah.
And so when you're laying there, and if you don't have this as a challenge of yours, you don't think about the fact that when you're laying there, they put instruments down on your chest and
Yes,
your
they do.
throat. And so I always have to say, please don't put anything on my throat because that immediately like triggers panic for me. Like I
Yes.
don't like, there's something about it. I must have been like choked to death in a previous life or
Yeah.
something. But
Another previous life you had. But
yeah.
that's a great thing to remember when we talk to Zach,
Yeah.
is to ask him how many people have panic attacks or anxiety and
Yeah.
how he deals with that. Because that's actually a very interesting thing. I've never asked a dentist
Me
about
neither.
that question,
Yeah.
but that or a hygienist, dental
Yeah.
hygienist, where they are putting all kinds of tools on your chest and it's like, I'm like, uh-oh, here we go or whatever.
Yeah.
So, well, so what happened to you when you were a kid, or is this the horror
So
story when you were older?
this was when I was older. When I was a kid, I didn't really have too much, like, loose teeth. My father, my glorious father, would threaten to, like tie string around your tooth and then to the door and then slam the door and then it comes out.
Mhm.
And I think I fell off a bike and a tooth fell out once and there was something traumatic about it, but yeah, I don't remember it. I have lots of trauma brain from childhood, so I don't remember a lot of things. But that was like that. But I remember the doorknob thing was like a common, like when we
Did
were
that actually,
younger.
he did that with you?
I think he did it with my brother, maybe.
Oh,
Maybe it was me. I can't quite remember, but I know that
yep.
we talked
Hmm.
about it, that it was, yeah, and that it wasn't just us. Like that was a thing I've heard many times is that that's what you do when you're a kid and you've got a loose tooth that's ready to come out, is you tie it around a doorknob and your tooth and you slam the door and it just pulls it right out. So there was that. But my trauma was actually very recent. It was a couple years ago. And so like I'd always been pretty okay with my teeth, like I'd had cavities here and there and whatever. And I had one crown at some point, but I didn't like it was completely unremarkable. I didn't remember anything about it or have any whatever. And I've never had problems with it. So for a very long time, I didn't go to the dentist for an embarrassingly long time because I didn't have insurance. And before I moved out here, I was working at a nonprofit and then I was in school. Like I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to go to a dentist
Yes,
and get
it's
all the work done.
expensive.
It's very expensive. And I was living paycheck to paycheck barely, and I had two jobs. So it just wasn't an option for me. And so when I moved out here and I finally, recently got to a place where I was like, all right, I can afford this now and I should probably go because it's been a very long time. And so I went and to a place not far from here that, supposedly was really great and everything. And they said, I had a couple cavities, but two of my cavities needed to have a crown put on them. And
Yep.
so I was like, okay, that they were old and like whatever the fillings were old and stuff. And so it was all in my lower right side. So the very back tooth needed a cavity, and then the next two each needed to have crowns. So I was like, okay, great. So he does the work, and I have to say this because this affected my decision making. He was very attractive. And so
Okay.
he was very attractive and he was kind of funny. So it was sort of the situation where I felt flustered sometimes, and I think I didn't speak up for myself as much as I should have in some of the situations because I was like, well, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So future Patty knows better now. So he does what he does and puts on a couple temp crowns. I go back in and they're like, okay, it's just going to take a second, to pop off the temp crowns. We put in, the permanent and they
Mhm.
wouldn't come off. And so they're pulling the because the assistant or hygienist, they pull it off because it's easy, and then he comes in and does. So they're pulling and they're pulling like, oh, it won't come off. And so he comes in. Dr. David was his name, and Dr. David comes in and he's pulling, and I'm like, oh, because they don't numb you because they're just popping off. And he's like, oh, I guess I set them too well. I'm like, that's not funny.
Oh, that's very funny. It's my mouth. It's
Like,
me.
yeah. And so now he has to start numbing me because he has to drill them to pieces to take them
Oh,
apart
gee.
to get them
Oh,
out.
gosh.
So he's starting to do it, but he didn't numb me well enough. So I'm in pain now as he's pulling, and he keeps pulling to try to get the, well, maybe it's broken apart now enough to pull. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm in pain. And in the process, he's pulled out because when they do crowns, right, they put in like buildup underneath the crown. And so he's
Mhm.
pulling out the buildup in the process because it's all stuck together. And I think he pulled out part of the filling that was in the back tooth. And so now there's a nerve exposed. And out now I'm in pain. And he still has numbed me like 3 times and it's not enough. And every time there's water, every time there's air, I'm in horrific
Yes.
pain. And I'm
Yep.
screaming and he keeps, oh, trying again and trying again. So by the time he gets them out, I'm now sobbing. I call my sister-in-law, Tracy, who was on our podcast, to come over because she was lived around the corner because I was having a panic attack and I couldn't leave. Like I said, like I couldn't go anywhere because now I have 2 holes in my mouth and an exposed nerve. And so
And
something
what's
has
he
to be
saying to you?
done.
What did he
Oh,
say
I'm
to you?
so sorry. Oh, whoa, you're taking a lot to you require a lot of Novocaine. I'm like, never in my
Yeah.
life has this like I don't think I'm the problem here, sir. But so my sister-in-law comes to hold my hand and he finally does a nerve block and just numbs half of my face.
And then your whole face is
My whole
dragging.
face, like my tongue was like a football. And so
Oh,
so
God.
while he's in there, he's like, okay. So he now he gets it done, and he has to fix the buildup again because he destroyed that. And then he's like, well, I don't like how this filling turned out. I'm like, this was your filling. What? And so he refills the other tooth and he puts on the crowns. So I leave and now I'm still in pain. And so I keep calling and I'm like, I'm still hurting. He's like, oh, you just probably need a bite adjustment. And I never needed a bite adjustment. I didn't even know what it was, a bite
Yeah.
adjustment, which is
Yeah.
just means it's too high or something. And so they need to like shave the crown
Mhm.
down. So
Mhm.
I kept going in for bite adjustments over and over and over again. And finally, like, well, I think you need a root canal. And I was like, are you kidding me? And so I have a permanent crown in. So now he has to go back in, numb me again, which he didn't do successfully previously, and again drill apart the crown to remove it to now give me a root canal. And I was like, why did you not know I needed a root canal before this? My theory, not being a dentist in any way, is that when he was pulling it, somehow something happened and that's what
Yeah.
created an issue. And so he's like, well, you were misdiagnosed, sorry, blah, blah, blah. And at this point, I should have switched dentists, but I
Yeah.
didn't. Um, so I
Oh,
went
dear.
back.
So what you learned is that even though he's attractive, it wasn't a good
It
dentist.
wasn't a good dentist, but we're not done. So I go back. So he takes out this crown, does the root canal, puts on a temporary crown. And so I'm like, okay. And I come back. Thankfully, the temporary crown comes off and he puts on a permanent crown. So I'm like, great, I'm done. Hooray. A year later, I'm brushing my teeth.
Oh,
My
no.
crown pops off. And I'm like, what? So I contact them and I'm like, hey, because this is a company who has multiple locations. And so like he's one, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't people focused as much as I thought it might be. And he doesn't work there anymore because I'm like, I don't want to see him, but somebody needs to fix this. And they're like, oh, he doesn't work here anymore. And I'm like, I was like, oh my. So I go in and they're like, okay, well, the new dentist is like, well, this isn't a very good crown. And I could make a better crown for you. This is not, that's why it fell off. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then he says, I also can't put it back on without telling you that the root canal isn't done right. and you need the root canal fixed. And I was like, okay. So he had over drilled, which meant he went below my gum line, like down too far past the root line or whatever it is, into my jaw, maybe. And so basically, it left me susceptible for infection. And so I had to go to an oral surgeon to have her build back up the area and redo the root
Oh my
canal. And at
gosh.
that point,
Oh,
I called
Patty.
them and was like, I need a new crown now. And they're like, okay, well, that'll cost you whatever the full cost of a crown. I'm like, excuse me? And I never get bitchy with people because I've been in customer service and
Mhm.
client facing, but I
Lost it.
lost
Good
it.
for you.
And I tried to talk to management and they didn't allow it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I went to a new dentist and just like it was nothing, I have this perfect, beautiful crown. I never went back to that place and I never left them a review. I probably should. It was horrific what
Should
they
have sued
did.
him.
And there was no, yeah, like they didn't give me compensation. I'm like, you traumatized me, you hurt me. They gave me a trauma discount after that one really bad session and they knocked off a couple $100, but like my crown was just past a year when it fell out, and therefore it was no longer covered under a warranty. So that was my horror story.
Oh, it certainly is. Oh my
It was like
gosh.
everything you fear about the dentist is what happened.
Mhm.
It was pretty, but that'll teach me to never not go to the dentist again for a long period of time
No,
and
I
to be
totally agree
very,
with you because when you're having that much invasive work on in three different teeth,
yeah,
uh, usually it disturbs the nerves and
yeah,
the roots, and same thing not exactly like that happened to me, and I think that's one thing you have to be very cautious about is not to uh, have someone, of course, that doesn't know what they're doing,
right.
mucking around with the three different teeth and big molars too,
Yeah, yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, one of the things I learned was to trust myself, and that there were several times in that process. I mean, attractiveness aside, whatever, but like I'm a people pleaser too. So I think I was worried about hurting his feelings and being like, I don't want you as my dentist. Like, I don't trust you. I mean,
Yeah.
trust is a really big thing as we're talking about. And so I think for me, that trust was gone really quickly, but I was second guessing myself
Mhm.
and I probably should have after the first incident been like, "Oh no, I'd like to see a different dentist, please." And
Mhm.
not worried about his feelings, not worried, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Oh, things happen, blah blah blah, but in the
Well,
end, I mean, it cost me
here's one
thousands
thing
of
that's
dollars.
interesting is that mostly, and just as I've matured and learned more about teeth and maintenance,
Yeah.
is that most dentists, your dentist that does the fillings and maybe a crown, they are not oral surgeons. They shouldn't be doing root canals.
And I had somebody said that to me after I was in the middle of this. And I was like, I had never thought about it
Yes,
before because I'd only ever had one root canal, which is where the other crown was. And I think my dentist did it. And so I had never heard of that. But that is apparently a common thing now
yes.
is you're
That,
supposed to
that you
not
should
have
go.
that.
You
Yeah.
should go to an oral surgeon because they look at where the root is, they make
Right.
sure they filled it, they do all the x-ray, they do it
Yeah. They're
right. So you
specialists.
don't have a problem with like, oh, I'm sorry, we drilled too far.
Yeah.
It's not done right. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
exactly. Yeah, the dentist, your dentist should be for your maintenance and for that sort of thing, but those bigger invasive things need to go through a specialist. And now I know, and ideally also I take better care of my teeth now than I used to.
Sure.
I brush and floss twice a day. I went to because I found another amazing dentist who's a woman and I just love her so much. And so
Mhm.
that's been really good. So I 6 months. I went and got my cleaning, and she's like, "Oh, I can tell you have exceptional oral care." And I was like, "Excellent." And so that made me feel good. So I'm like, "That's right. I floss and brush twice a day." Da, 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 da. She's like, and talking to her assistant, she's like, "See, I can tell she flosses a lot because she's not flinching. She's not." And I was like, "That's right, I
Well,
do."
the reason why you're doing that is that when you get to be my age, is that your gums start receding.
Yep.
I don't know if you know that. That happens
Mm-hmm.
when you get older.
Yeah.
And so you have to really, if they recede too much, then it exposes, the roots and underneath, and
Yeah.
you're prone to getting infections and as well as food stuck there, which cause more problems. And
Yeah.
so I mean, keeping your gums, I mean, some people, really don't pay attention to that. And but it's
Yeah.
interesting. As I was listening to you, I'm thinking, I think I've had in my whole lifetime, one, two, like I used to change dentists like every year because
Mm.
I never really liked what they were
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
and they had done some damage. And so I've had root canals done now by only by oral surgeons
Mm.
and even teeth pulled. If I had to have some teeth pulled, and that was done by an oral surgeon. I
Yeah.
did not have my regular dentist do that.
Right.
And my regular dentist, who I absolutely adore now, and he's got one of the best of Boston for a top 10 dentist, in Boston area.
Nice.
He's amazing. And he has, I was just saying, I think I have an implant which
Mm.
came because of problems like what you had. I had a
Mm.
dentist that wanted to take out all of my silver fillings because he said they were bad for you.
That's what mine said too. And then I talked to my new dentist and she's like, they're fine. They look in great shape.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what this dentist said. They're fine, they're not leaking, they're in great shape. If they were starting to crack or whatever, then that's a whole different story.
Right.
But he said, leave them, if it ain't
Yeah.
broke, don't fix it, you know. But of
Right.
course, I went to one dentist that said, no, we have to take them all out. And I went
Mhm.
along with that. And then when we got halfway there and having problems, he put a bridge in, and then the bridge broke, and then
Oh my goodness.
then the teeth got infected, and so I ended up having my teeth pulled. So I have an implant in my mouth, and that's a whole horror story too. Implants, man, it's when people have teeth that have been pulled, you have to wait for the gum to heal, and
Right.
then if it's after that, then they take this huge spike and they pound it into
Oh
your
my
jaw. Into
God.
yes. And it was talk about someone in your face and pounding. I mean, I remember in tears, like tears were just rolling off my eyes, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I can make it.
Did it
And
hurt or was it just like the pressure of that hat? Like,
the pounding in your
yeah,
head. I
that's
mean, it's like they're using,
intense.
I know it is. It is implants. And then I left
Mm.
that guy. And then found another person, dentist, went to an implant. And then I finally found my dentist I have now. And of course, the implant that they put in wasn't the right one. And so it was like, oh my gosh. So ever since I've met him, he fashioned a tooth that would fit on the implant. And then the teeth that were around it were still never calmed down. The nerves never calmed down. So
Right.
I ended up having those teeth pulled too. So on one side of my mouth, I don't have two molars in the back. I don't have that. Yep,
Wow. That's it's so amazing the damage that they
it
can
can be done.
do
Yes.
if you don't have a good that's why it's so scary.
Exactly. It is. And so you really need to research your dentist. Listen to, this is a referral I got, and I love this guy. And he's, did some research on, his history. And so then I've been with him for maybe 15, 20 years now. And
Mm,
what I love about him is that, and so for all the people who are listening, if you are a person who when you sleep, you grind your teeth.
yeah.
Do not continue doing that because and they tried telling me that, yeah, I know I grind. Yep, yeah, I know I grind. I don't care. I don't care. And then I thought, okay, I'll get a mouth
Mouth
guard.
guard.
Oh my gosh, the mouth guard. Talk about they were like huge. And I'm thinking, okay, now I can't sleep.
Right.
So that was never a solution for me. So unfortunately, I was grinding my teeth so much that my front teeth actually were completely almost shorter than the rest of my teeth. Yes.
Whoa.
And so this dentist that I go to now, $12,000 later,
Wow.
these two front teeth, you can't even tell that they're not real. They're crowns. Yeah. He
Oh.
had a design, this guy come in with a photography, and he took pictures of my mouth, and they matched the teeth exactly and the color and everything. And no one who's ever said anything to me has never noticed that. But I had them done. And then I also had, because my parents, my mother, oh, you don't need braces, Jan. And my
Oh,
brothers got them. I didn't. And I did Invisalign. So I did Invisalign for $6,000. And then I had two new teeth for $6,000. And it's the changed my life. I'm
yeah.
serious. Because
Wow.
if you ever looked at pictures of me, my husband finally said to me, Jan, why don't you just do something and get your mouth fixed? Because whenever you see a picture of me, I'm not smiling. I'm
Oh,
smiling, but I don't show my teeth because I was too embarrassed.
right.
And so finally, he fixed them, and I do wear retainers when I sleep at night, but they also are like mouth guards so that my bite doesn't move and my teeth don't get
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the grinding then. So you don't grind anymore now because you wear a retainer.
Yeah, I do grind with those, and I'll probably have to have them replace these retainers, which I don't know what everything's so expensive when it comes to
Right.
dentists, which I'll have done. But these ones I've had for maybe a year. So,
Mhm.
but it's really changed my life. So,
Wow.
he's the guy who saved my mouth, who ended up helping me with, the implant and getting a tooth on it, and then helping me with, doing Invisalign and then doing my two new front teeth so because I
Wow.
ground them down so much. So
Wow.
that's a good story at the
That
end
is
there.
in the
But
end
it
of it.
really says look out for those
Yeah.
dentists that want to change all your cavities
Yeah.
because they're silver, or you got to get history on them. I don't know if there's some kind of a database for it. Do you know if there is?
I don't know. I know. Yeah, I'm not sure we should look into that. Yeah, I mean, and I know like the thing is at this place, and this is one of the reasons I stopped going there, is everybody there was so young. And so I kind of had this feeling of like, oh, like they're using this as like a little dentist assembly line and they get the youngest dentist. And so I'm sure they're cheaper for this organization. They were running it like a business, which it should
Yeah,
be run as a business, but they were really running it as a business. It wasn't about
right.
the people, it wasn't about dentistry, it was about a business, very
Yeah.
clearly. And so, like, they would offer, oh, if you give us a good review, we'll give you free teeth whitening stuff.
Oh,
Like,
great.
and that is a red flag. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
so I think
just like with
researching
doctors,
them and
it's
and
really hard with
yeah,
doctors too.
yeah,
There is no database you can really go. That's why whenever I go to a doctor or orthopedic surgeon, I always ask for a referral.
yeah,
And I usually ask for a referral from the doctor that I'm seeing.
yeah,
Like, so who would you recommend as an oral surgeon? Or
right,
who would you recommend for doing Invisalign? Because if you like your one doctor or dentist,
right.
you should get referrals from them or friends that have had really good work done.
Yeah, exactly. And I think specifically when you're looking for referrals for dentists, not just like, oh, you get your teeth cleaned and have an occasional cavity filled. You don't need that. You need to find a referral from somebody who's had some stuff done and seen
Yeah,
some things because most dentists are going to do fine with cleaning and, main like cavities and stuff like that. But when we get into that deeper stuff, that's where you need to make sure you have somebody who's experienced. And I think for me, like what I learned too is not like therapy. I don't want a baby dentist. I want somebody who's been around, who's
yeah,
been doing stuff for a while. They've seen all the things, and I don't have
right.
much happening. Like it's pretty, like part of me even wonders if because I didn't have any pain in that area when I went in, but it was the fillings that needed to. And so part of me is like, did this all happen simply because they were like, oh, your fillings, and you need new fillings. Yeah, get second opinions if you're not sure. Follow your gut for sure,
Mhm.
because I don't wish what I experienced on anybody.
Anyone.
It
But
was
it
horrible.
really does speak to getting a good referral,
Yeah.
getting someone who's really experienced, but also, teeth maintenance, like taking
Yes.
care of your teeth, your gums, flossing, and all those things, as much as your mom would say that to you or didn't
Yeah.
say it to me.
Yeah.
But, I think about sometimes when I'm struggling with teeth issues, as you get older, most of your teeth start going, actually. I mean, I was just thinking, if I were to count my mouth, I think that half of my mouth are crowns because
Mm.
everything
Yeah.
does not last forever.
Yeah. My mom, we're trying to figure out why, but we think part of it is because she's been on so many medications and that
Oh,
causes
sure.
dry mouth. So she has lost like over half of her teeth. And we're in the
Yes.
process now of trying to figure out denture
Yes.
situation
In
and all
fact,
of that.
that is so true. In fact, I know a friend of mine who she takes a lot of different medication and it's dried up a lot of her mouth. And because of that, her whole teeth, all of her teeth
Yeah.
are
They
going.
just fall out.
Yep, they fall out. They don't,
Yeah.
and of course, then you have to get implants, which are very expensive and painful.
Oh,
And then you have to
yeah.
get a tooth put on them. And then it's like unbelievable how
Yeah.
much money you can run up.
We've gone with her to kind of assess things so far. And because she has a few teeth, but they all need to go at this point because they're all just at that point where they're going to break out on their own. They're either going to break off or fall out. Like literally, she'll just be doing whatever and a tooth will fall out. Like it's really upsetting for her. And so she has like one little tooth in the front at this point. So it's
Oh,
not good. And so it's getting also, not only is she also not wanting to smile, she doesn't like talking as much
right,
because she's embarrassed. But it's hard for her to eat. So we
right.
started pricing it, and I think one place was like 20 to $30,000 for
Oh my God.
everything
But can't she
because
get dentures? Can't she
well,
get
that's the
dentures?
thing is so we were
Yeah,
looking at dentures, but so we still have to have all the teeth that are there removed that are left. So that's extractions. So that's
yeah,
expensive. And then because of the way the bottom jaw is, she would need two implants that the dentures would clip into because otherwise
yep,
they would slip out. And
yep.
then the top would just be like the suctiony, dentures. But even at that whole process, it would be like 20 something thousand dollars. And that's really expensive. And we don't have that. So we were honestly like, can we go to Mexico? And like, because
Uh-oh.
they do that. And there's a lot of really great stories, and we have referrals for that actually from my good dentist. But there's also, we're looking at some other options at this point. We're trying to figure it out. But yeah, it's
My
worth it to
I
take
had a
care of it.
client and her husband had that and had
Mhm.
all of his teeth pulled and then they put implants all around his mouth and the top and then put the teeth in on top of
But
it.
yeah.
And it was like $35,000.
Yeah. 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 It's very expensive. And that's why with this, they would only do two because her bones are not that strong anymore. So she
Yes.
can't really handle that many implants anyway. So that's why they would
Right.
just do two implants and then the dentures would clip into those
Yeah.
on the bottom side and then the
Oh.
top is just suction. So there's a
Well,
lot out there.
all of this says
Take care of your
take care of your
teeth.
teeth because it's going to cost you a fortune when you get older.
Yeah.
You
I
don't.
am die hard. I do not go to bed before flossing and brushing. I don't do anything in the morning before flossing and brushing. I am die hard at this point because I'm like, I no, thank you. Okay, never
That's right.
again. So yeah, well, next time we get to chat with Dr. Zach, who's a dentist, and he's gonna talk about teeth maintenance and his experience as a dentist. We can ask him some fun questions about
Yeah, we can ask
that
him a
stuff.
lot of fun questions after this conversation.
So, doctor.
Have you ever drilled too far on? No.
But I think that's great. It'll be fun to hear a
Mhm.
dentist
To
perspective
follow
because
through with that. It will.
we don't do that. But in the meantime, brush and floss, everyone. Brush
That's right.
and floss. Do your
That's right.
research, find good dentists, and trust your instincts.
Yeah.
If you think you should change dentists, change dentists.
Hmm.
So that's
Amen to that.
amen to that. Yeah.
Thanks, Patty.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you like what you've heard, please share it with friends, subscribe, and leave a review.
And remember, information shared on this podcast is not medical advice. If you have a concern about your physical or mental health, please seek support from a professional.
If you have a story you'd like to share about things your mother forgot to mention, you can apply to be a guest.
We'd also love to hear a quick 90-second thing you've learned in your life.
You can find links to both of those over at our website at
thingsmymotherforgottomention.com or in the show notes.
Thank you.